Clayton, when our bosses came to us and said, we want you to test the Hyundai Palisade versus the Kia Telluride.
We said that's the same car.
Two sides of the same coin, like asking parents of twins, pick the kid you like best. But hey, they pay the freight, so here we are.
And so we do have two very similar cars, and you probably already know the basic gist of these. These are Kia and Hyundai's twins. They have the same engine, the same transmission, the same basic chassis. They're both 7-seaters. They have obviously a lot of similarities because they were separated at birth, but we actually learned a lot about these two.
It truly is about personality because, as Clayton said, the mechanics are identical. What we have are two top-line versions. In the case of the Telluride, it's the SX V6 with the Nightsky package.
And this is the top trim calligraphy version. Both of these are the all-wheel drive versions. I believe in the Hyundai you can get a front-wheel drive version if you so choose.
Why would you want to?
Exactly. And the other difference here is that both of these are normally 8-seat vehicles, but both of these have the optional second row captain's chairs, which gives you a 2-seater second row so you can easier access the third row. Like I said, these come standard with 3-seat bench in the second row, but these both have that option.
Price-wise, there's only $800 difference.
Basically, throughout the pricing structure, they're really even. There isn't a clear pricing advantage, and at the same price point, you basically get the same content regardless of which one of these you're choosing within a couple $100.
Yeah, so we're talking $55,000, $56,000 for either.
Under the hood of these cars, they are the same mechanicals. Both have a 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6 that makes 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Both of those are coupled to a 8-speed automatic gearbox, and you're looking at 0 to 60 around 7 seconds. They're not slow, they're not fast, it's an SUV. But it is worth noting that the Hyundai does have a teeny-weeny fuel economy advantage both in highway and city fuel mileage.
3/10 in the city, 1/10 on the highway.
So we're calling it a dead heat on mechanicals.
Pretty much.
Brian, let's talk about the outside of these two. What do they look like?
The Palisade has a face that only its mother would love. It might be a little harsh. Look at the location of the headlights. Way down low. I mean, that's in front bumper, rear bumper territory.
That's in slush territory in the winter.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Telluride bears the stamp of former head of design Peter Schreier. Whether he actually penned this design or whether he just stamped it, it's got his signature all over it.
It's a really good looking SUV, and in fact, I think it's one of the best looking around, whereas this is just an SUV. It just looks like an SUV, it doesn't really stand out, and the closer you look at some of these plastic details, the less good it looks. This is a clear winner in terms of outward appearance.
And the whole thing about the Nightsky package is that you get the blacked out trim. You get this lovely deep moss color, and it translates inside as well with a very dark green leather interior.
Yeah, the Nightsky package also does give you basically your chrome turns to black. You get a blackout grille, you get blacked out badges, and I think, Brian, you said there's some interior enhancements as well, but basically it's an enhancement package visually over the SX. But I think visually we would agree it's the Telluride.
Yes.
But we need to move inside.
Ooh, now we're talking.
These SUVs are both really nice inside, but we actually agree on one thing.
The calligraphy. It is very Scandinavian in its look. It's very light shaded materials, colors, the whole bit. Beautiful.
I love the way it looks inside. The light seating textures are great. The seats themselves are very comfortable. And one thing you don't get with the Telluride is that so much suede, microfiber, whatever you want to call it, the suede A-pillars, the headliner, it's all in this nice soft fabric, whereas the Kia really just kind of generic interior in terms of headliner. This one feels more airy, it feels more comfortable. I really like to spend time in the interior of the Palisade, but they're both really nice interiors. Let's talk about the interior of the Telluride, which is also really nice, and I found it to be more functional. I like the way that it's got the center console.
Well, that's your thing. I mean, when I get behind the wheel, If it's cold out, I put on the seat heat, I put on the steering wheel heater, set my radio station, and I'm good. But I don't like to wire up.
So in terms of phone functionality, they're pretty even, as you would imagine. They both have Apple CarPlay. The difference is that in the Hyundai, for some reason, Apple CarPlay only takes up 2/3 of the screen, and the remaining third farthest from you is just kind of wasted space. You can have a clock there or the weather, but it's not going to be displaying anything from your phone. Whereas in the Telluride, plug in your phone and the entire screen is Apple CarPlay, which, you know, makes more sense. Also, functionally, I love the center console of the Telluride more. It has 4 cup holders, 2 in the front and kind of 2 at the back of the center armrest. It's got a little phone cubby, it's got a smaller cubby that I like to put keys, and in this day and age, hand sanitizer. And I find that it just has more nooks and crannies to store the things that I carry with me in daily life. Whereas the center console of the Hyundai Palisade is just a big pit. You have 2 retractable cup holders, and I suppose it's better if you're trying to put a purse in the center console, it's better for that. But I kind of like some, you know, divisions in my storage space to keep things from just sliding around in each other. And I did find that that is a more functional layout. So in terms of tech and storage, I'm giving it to the Kia.
These are large SUVs, 3-row, obviously designed for families. The Telluride has just that much more space behind the 3rd row seat. That's the biggest difference. You have a little more headroom, again, in the Telluride. We're not talking big differences, we're talking subtle differences, but it's there. So if you got a 6'4" teenager, you're not going to stuff him in the back seat. You're going to put him in the middle seat. 3rd row in both cases are really for children.
It's really an occasional use seat. Even someone that is not Brian tall and someone that is, well, Clayton short. You know, I still found that I was pretty cramped back there. It is an occasional use seat. It's not a place you want to put anyone that you like for more than an hour. And on the road, they drive really nice. The steering wheel's nice and light. I like the ratio. It doesn't feel nervous or twitchy, but I do feel like I can really turn these things around and move them in a small city environment. On the highway, I honestly noticed an advantage for the Hyundai in terms of ride comfort.
This is where it gets interesting. The Telluride is the award winner of the two. This has won North American Car of the Year. This one has won the NACTOY SUV of the Year. It was Motor Trend's SUV of the Year. It was the Automobile Journalists Association of Canada's Best Large Sport Utility Vehicle. And it's not that the Palisade hasn't won its own share, but it's smaller. However, in Canada at least, the Palisade has outsold the Telluride by more than 2 to 1.
We knew it was going to be a close race, but actually these cars have different personalities, and we kind of didn't see that going into it. This one is, in my opinion, a better road tripper. It's got a more comfortable interior. It's got that big, all-encompassing pit of a center console. You can put all kinds of stuff in it. It's got a slightly softer ride. If I had to drive to Moncton, New Brunswick tomorrow, I'd pick the Hyundai. But for daily use, for being an all-rounder, I think we agree.
Telluride.
It is the Kia Telluride by this much. And then I have to say at the end of it, both these are so good.
Yes.
By buying either one of these, you are already in one of the best SUVs in this class.
So on that note, for Driving.ca, I'm Brian Harper.
And I'm Clayton Seams. And for more SUV reviews and information, don't forget to follow Driving.ca online at Instagram and Twitter.
And if you want even more detail on these two very nice SUVs, read Driving.ca's comparison.